Okay, so I just realized I never made a video on something kind of important. I used to make and I'm sure the recipe is still up for it. I used to make a wet food mixture that had pureed carrot, oatmeal, yellow egg food, and millet. I'd crumble millet into it, spray millet. So I started making that because, everyone was all, yeah, you got to do that. And about a third of now my birds all came from different places. So about a third of them started eating it straight off the bat. And then it took about 6 months, and I gave this to them twice a week. So it took about 6 months for probably 2/3 of the flock to actually be eating this stuff, right? And then I got a hold of a box of spray millet that had some mold or something in it. That was not something that I could see, but I put it into the mixture, and the yellow egg food in the little cups out in the cages grew gray fuzz all over it in one night. And the birds would never touch it again. I kept offering it to them and offering it to them and offering it to them, and they would never touch it again. And I was like, I've been to other breeders, and they'll sit there and show me all these fancy additives and everything that they make up for their birds. And I'm like, so they eat that? Because my birds reject a lot of different foods. And once I say that, they'll go, oh, well, it seems like they do. So I'm just not one to go for, this might work, so probably I should do it. No. So I said, you know what? Instead of going to all that trouble, what if I just gave them stuff that they'll actually eat? Because going to all of that trouble to give them something that they won't eat is like, forget it, that's crazy. So, to replace the yellow egg food, I boil up a couple of eggs. I get organic pasture-raised eggs because they have better nutrients in them. I hard boil them, I mash them up, and I give everybody a teaspoonful. I do not do that every single day. I do that every third or fourth day. And then one day on another day I will give them leafy greens. So here's my spring mix. This is what I'm eating this week, so that's what they're eating this week. They can get any kind of salad greens, and they'll eat it. You put it in the cage. You don't have to teach them to eat it. You don't have to wonder if they're getting anything from it. You can sit there and watch them, and they fall on the stuff and gobble. They don't eat a huge amount of it, but you can see bites out of it. They're definitely consuming it, which means that, it could possibly be helpful to them nutritionally. Whereas with other stuff, when they don't eat it, what are you going to do? And then on another day, I give them some frozen vegetables. I've used a whole bunch of different kinds. I've used the peas and corn and diced carrots, that all come in one bag. They like that well enough. Lately I've been giving them, these are lima beans. Now they love corn. The minute you put this in there, and obviously you thaw it first before you put it in. So, I mix in corn, 1 part corn, 1 part peas, and 1 part lima beans. Now when I first gave it to them, they gobbled down the corn and nothing else. By the second or third time I gave it to them, they started eating the lima beans as well, and now they're starting to eat the peas as well. So I guess what I should say is I've kind of gone full circle on the whole food supplement thing. I'm not going to sit here and chef it out and make all this fancy stuff if they won't eat it. And they won't a lot of times. I mean, I've talked to breeder after breeder, like, oh yeah, I have a supplement, I do this, and I make their wet food out of this, that, and the other thing, and I go, do they eat it? And they give me this kind of look like, and they go, yeah. Like, maybe some of them eat it, but if they won't eat it, it's not doing them any good. So why kill myself, right? So these are things that they will eat. Peas and corn and diced up carrots and lima beans, any kind of leafy green you can think of, and fresh hard-boiled eggs that are all mashed up. I stick them in a bowl and mash them up with a whisk. does not take a huge amount. I do not give them all of these things every single day. They don't need them every single day. I rotate them. So they'll get an egg one day, frozen vegetables the next day, lettuce the next day, and then I'll circle back around again. Of course, they always get their seed on top of all of this. So I guess what I'm saying with the supplements is I've gone natural. I'm giving them real food and not mashing it all up and doing all this crazy stuff to it. Because if they won't eat it, it's not doing me any good, right? And I also put a vitamin supplement in their water, which I get at Walmart. It's cheaper than you know what. It's like 1 drop per cup or 2 drops per cup or something like that. And the whole bottle costs $2, you know. So that's to make sure they get their vitamin D and that sort of thing. So on the calcium supplement, they get... each cage has a mineral bar in it. It has, well, here, I'll show you. That's it right there. It has a cuttle bone and a cup underneath it that has oyster shell, grit, and a little bit of salt in it. Every single cage has that in it. The flight cages have it. The breeder cages have it. The sick bay or quarantine cages have it. So they have access to all the minerals they need. The vitamins provide them the vitamin D that they need to process the minerals. So I don't need to go crazy on the calcium supplement. The only reason I did is because I gave them a series of medications that sucked all the calcium out of them. And I had to put it back in to get them caught up. So, but, you know, I learned my lesson. First of all, if you give this calcium, as a supplement to these birds in the... quantities that they tell you to on the bottle, which is 1 teaspoon for a cup, you'll end up with a bunch of psychotic birds. They're suggesting that you give it way too much, and it made my birds sterile when I gave it to them when they were breeding. So you don't give it to them all the time. You give it to them. I give it to parents feeding babies. First of all, I give them 1/4 teaspoon per cup instead of a whole teaspoon per cup. And then I give it to parents feeding babies once every 3rd or 4th day at 1/4 the dose it says on the bottle. And when I know I've got a whole group of birds in a flight cage that are getting ready to go into the breeder cage, I'll give them 1/4 teaspoon per cup of it every 3rd or 4th day for a couple weeks before I send them in. And that's it. If you're offering them all the minerals they need, they don't need that much. So, on the other hand, if you're using Amtil for anything, they'll need the supplement after you give it to them because it sucks all the calcium out of their bones. So that was, when I was doing that, it was a direct response to the medication. So, okay, so that's my supplement thing. I'm going natural here. You know, have your vegetables, have your egg, and in a form that they will reliably eat. And I don't have to sit there and like cook it, you know, mix it all up and all that kind of stuff. It's easier this way. So that's it.